Hello and welcome to my video on multiplying rational numbers. So we're going to look at fractions and decimals today. First of all, there are three steps to fractions. Find the sign, so as if it's positive or negative. Multiply the numerator, the top numbers. And multiply the denominator, the bottom numbers. So if we were to do this, sometimes we'll see, especially in my videos, we'll see this little star. It's just another way of doing a multiplication symbol. So if you'd rather see it like this, you can do that. One common way to write it is just having a dot. That's a really common way of writing multiplication. So whatever, but when we see the star, that's what it is. On the computer, that's often how we write multiplication. Anyways, so find the sign if it's positive or negative. Well, think about this as a number you know. So if we had 1 times by negative 1, would it be a positive or would it be a negative 1? Well, you might notice that there's a positive 1 being multiplied by a negative 1. And if we have positive and a negative, it equals a negative. Okay? So I'm just going to draw you a little chart here. If our first number, so first number, and then our second number, and then the answer, what it's going to be. First number, if it's negative and the second is positive, it's going to be negative. If the first one's positive and the second is negative, it's going to be negative. All other combinations, if it's two pluses or two minuses, those are both going to be positive. Okay? So hopefully you can see the only way it'll be negative is if one of the two is negative and the other one is positive. Okay, if they're both the same, then it changes to be positive. And that's the same thing with dividing for the next topic. Okay, so this is a helpful chart for you if you're interested. This might be useful. So I'm just going to move that over. Whoops. Or maybe I'll delete this one and just go like that. Okay, so it's a helpful chart if you want it. So we have positive and a negative. That means we have a negative. We have over here we have a positive, we have a negative, so we have a negative. Okay? So that's step 1. Done. Let's use a different color. Step 1, done. Step 2, multiply the numerator, the top numbers. So we have, what are our two numbers? I'm going to put our things here. We have a 3 times, by a 1. A 3 here times by a 1 here. Okay? And then it says, so that's number 2. And then it says, number 3, multiply the denominator, the bottom numbers. So we have to multiply the 5 and the 3. So the 5 times the 3. Okay? And usually this is how I'd write it out. This is how you show your work. You have this step. Okay? So sometimes you wonder, how do I actually show my work for this question? This is how you do it. Okay? Then we have a negative. What's 3 times 1 for the top? It's 3. What's 5 times 3 for the bottom? It's 15. Okay? So this is why getting to know our times tables is useful, is when you don't have a calculator, it is very, very nice to be able to multiply like 5 times 3 to get 15. It's really good to have that step. And to be able to do that quickly without really thinking about it. Times tables will speed up and will help you a lot. Okay, good. Fractions, we good? Hopefully we are. Otherwise, rewind and watch again. These things here, this chart, is for any sort of multiplication or division. That holds true. So, that means we can use the same chart when we're talking about decimals. So we're going to drag it down. Same chart applies down here. So, decimals, 3 steps. Estimate the answer. Let's try that. How do we estimate the answer? Well, to estimate the answer, let's maybe use green. What we're going to do is we're going to round our numbers. So we've got, let's make this a 1, and let's make this a -2. If we multiplied 1 times -2, what would we get? A -2. Okay, so if you remember here, we have a +1, and a -2. So we have a positive and a negative. That's this one here, right here. Positive and negative. What's the answer? It is negative. So that's the one you should use. This one here. Okay? Okay, so we've got -2. That's estimating the answer. Check mark. Now it says, find the answer without decimals. I'm going to do this in blue. Okay? Find the answer without decimals. So if I change this to just an 8 times by -24, what would the answer be? So I just got rid of the decimals. What would the answer be? Now this takes a little bit of work. This is long multiplication. So often if it's this much, you will get a calculator for it. Okay? But you also, it's talking about estimation, so you can't really estimate on a calculator. So we're expecting you to start learning how to do some of these without a calculator too. So you should be able to do a couple of these. So we've got 24 times 8. We can do that. I'm gonna show you how I do this. Okay, this is I don't know, grade 4 math as well. So I usually write the bigger number on top, and I mean we can remember that there's a negative, but there's only one negative, so the answer is negative. So I'm just gonna remember that the answer is negative in the end. Okay. Okay, so 24 times by 8. I multiply the 8 times the 4 first to get 32. And then I multiply the 8 times the 2. And I have to add a 0 because there's a 0 after the 2, or there's like another digit here. So if there's one extra digit, you have to add a 0. So 8 times 2 is 16. So that is what we have. So 160 plus 32. That gives us 192. So our answer would be 192. And that's the answer without decimals. So if our answer, so let's get a check mark here. We did step 2. If our answer is close to -2, it's really close to -2. Oops, this should be a negative 192. It's really close to -2. Then our answer might be something like -1.92. You see how this number came to change to that? We compared it to the -2. -1.92 is very close to -2. So because we were able to compare, we were able to get a close answer, and now we're actually able to get the exact answer. So that's how we get exact answers with decimals without a calculator. Check mark. All 3 steps done. And all 3 fraction steps, we should be good to go. So good luck. I hope that helps you with multiplying rational numbers.